Why did her friends have to be so good at what they did? The couple blinked up at her, matching pleading looks, widening their eyes. Of course, Ashna smiled, even as her heart raced. We can prepare the okra for you. I'll send out jaljeera. My cousin says the mint and cumin settle her nausea. She's pregnant, too. The woman jumped up and hugged Ashna, then sat back down and dabbed the sweat off her husband's forehead with her napkin. Any other time, Ashna would have found the man hilarious, but as she hurried back into the kitchen, she could barely breathe. Fortunately, her sous chef hadn't left yet. Ashna had promised Mandy that she could leave early today, but seeing that she was still here filled Ashna with relief. Mandy paused in the act of putting on her jacket, and the attention in the kitchen shifted to them like a spotlight. 2 line cooks, the prep staff, the dishwasher, the bussers carrying trays. Everyone pretended a little too hard to focus on their tasks. When Ashna had returned from culinary school in Paris 10 years ago and taken over the restaurant, she'd been buzzing with new recipes. But the first time she'd tried to cook something that wasn't Baba's recipe in this kitchen, his kitchen, the panic attack had knocked her off her feet, literally. It had felt like a truck driving onto her chest. Fainting and waking up surrounded by her staff staring down at her on the kitchen floor was an experience she'd sworn she would never risk repeating. Then, a few months ago, DJ had helped her revamp her menu, and she'd forced herself to try again, only to find that nothing had changed. For a month, Ashna had relied on Mandy to prepare DJ's new recipes. Then her sous chef had asked for a day off, and Ashna realized that she had to be able to cook her menu herself without passing out. She had reverted to Baba's original menu. Now the panic truck revved close to her chest as she retrieved okra from the pantry and turned to her assistant. The customer's pregnant. Can you take care of the okra? Mandy took off her jacket and tied her smock back around herself, just a little more forcefully than necessary. Sure, boss. Ashna resisted the urge to fall to her knees in relief. Instead, she put her heart into a simple, thank you, and got back to the next drop. Her hands flew over sautéing garlic for the dal makhani. The act of preparing Baba's recipe loosened the panic in her chest, along with the congealed grief lodged deep inside. It had been 12 years since Baba put a bullet through his head. Ashna had heard the shot seconds before she found him face down on his desk, a month before her 18th birthday. After his death, Ashna had left Curried Dreams in the care of his 2 most trusted employees and gone to Paris to fulfill Baba's dream of attending culinary school there and to lick her wounds. It had been an indulgence she'd been paying for ever since she returned to find her father's legacy destroyed and buried in debt. The 2 men had siphoned $5 million from Curried Dreams and made off with the money. Baba's life had ended in a single deafening blast, but his restaurant had continued to bleed out for the past 10 years, and Ashna was responsible for both. With Curried Dreams, she was determined to stem the bleed, so 30 tables was definitely a victory, foreclosure notices notwithstanding. After the last customers left, including one very grateful pregnant couple, Ashna thanked her staff, saving the announcement of the budget cuts for another day. Mandy, who had stayed on after missing the baby shower she'd been headed to, pursed her lips as Ashna waved goodbye to Khalid and Wilfrida. Her line chefs grabbed each other's hands as soon as they were out the kitchen door, making Ashna smile. Ah, fresh young love. It was like the smell of cumin roasting in butter. You couldn't hide it for anything. Which one of them are you going to fire, then?